Here's a very interesting question from Lorraine, C8 Lorraine 1. Would you be able to tell me if the reading is any different for a person living in the southern hemisphere? Yeah, I would say probably yes. It's got to be because our Western astrology is very much tied to, Northern Hemisphere Western astrology is very much tied to the seasons of the year. So like, you know, Aries being the first point of spring, the vernal equinox, all of life really accelerating and pushing up after the long dormant time of the winter, and that's very much connected in with Aries' sort of urge to rush headlong into life and experience and to bust out all over the place like spring does. But of course that same Aries will be coming up at the autumn equinox in the southern hemisphere. So what do we do about this? Well, I've often thought, and this again is my opinion, and I don't mix with other astrologers really. So this is my opinion, not so much out of choice. It's just that I don't get the chance to, and it's a bit like a busman's holiday, you know. But anyway, is that there are only really 6 signs. I mean, it's already been pared down and pruned down from the original 22 Greek signs by Ptolemy into 12, losing Ophiuchus along the way, the 13th sign, which is really interesting, but also losing the other kind of 9. But I'll be putting some videos out about those ancient Greek signs shortly. So paring it down to 6, in other words, each one of our 12 popular zodiac signs have got their opposite. So Aries is opposite Libra, Taurus is opposite Scorpio, Gemini is opposite Sagittarius, Cancer is opposite Capricorn, and Leo is opposite Aquarius, and Virgo is opposite Pisces. And so it's like 2 sides of the same coin. So if an Aries is born in the northern hemisphere, then that may be more energetic side is you know, pushing out into new things. There's a certain naivety and impatience with Aries energy, all other things considered in the chart, of course. But if that same Aries was at the beginning of the winter, well, it's kind of the autumn, isn't it? Then that same freshness of new beginnings, because maybe they've had a very, very hot, long summer, maybe they've been fires or whatever, so that kind of lovely freshness coming in of the cooler weather, the damper weather coming in, and that sort of dynamic of going on into the shorter days rather than the longer days at the spring equinox in the northern hemisphere. In the southern hemisphere, there'd still be that feeling of a new beginning there, but the dynamic would maybe be more sociable, less self-centered, less, you know, on like go, 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 all about all about driving into new things and not really thinking them through. So in that time of the year, which is sort of lyrical and it's kind of a bit nostalgic, you know, the leaves are turning, it's very beautiful, it's a very sociable time when people can kind of come together maybe in a more thinking kind of a way and chew the fat together, because in that raging hot summer time, maybe that isn't the time to kind of connect in with other people and think about life. So that reflective observer side of the opposite sign to Aries, which is Libra, would be more predominant in that Aries. But I think that that person is still Aries. It's just that they're more in their expression of themselves, in the culture, connecting into the culture in a more self-reflective and sociable kind of a way. Not to say Northern Hemisphere Aryans are unsociable, I don't mean to say that, but they can really not, they're more action orientated, and they tend not to be self-reflective. They tend not to think twice or think things through. And of course, I'm being outrageously speculative here because there's lots of Aries who do. And in fact, in the ancient Greek zodiac, I think Aries is there's 3 different signs in Aries. It's either 2 or 3. And like early Aryans are very more poetic, more musical, more spiritual, and they come under the sign of Pegasus, you know. So again, I'm just being very, very general. So that's what I think. And of course, fresh experience could change my mind, but that's where I am with it at the moment, is that Northern Hemisphere signs and their soft underbelly, which is their opposite sign, then they will show more of that opposite sign in the Southern Hemisphere. And then interestingly, you know, like a Scorpio might be more Taurian orientated, expressing themselves in a more Taurian, which is the opposite sign in the Southern Hemisphere. But then if they were to come and live in the Northern Hemisphere, then automatically the dynamics of the new vibrations they were under would start to bring out that more Scorpio side, or in the case of an Aries, of that more Aries, so a Southern Hemisphere Aries, being more Libran down there, down under, coming up here, and them coming out more with that Aries side, because the society underpinned that. And I've had personal experience of that. In fact, it's very interesting astrocartography, because if you are living always in your birth energy, which is your geographical location at birth, and most people don't anymore, you are very much in the same old sort of soup of energies. But if you were to move the other side of the country, or even further, you know, like the other side of the world, then on your astrocartography chart, which shows the whole map of the whole world, and then it shows your power lines, your planet lines on that chart, you will start living more in tune with certain specific parts of your chart that you were not able to explore, inhabit, and play out in the original birth location. It's absolutely fascinating, this. For instance, where somebody's Mars is, I believe George Bush's Mars was over Iraq. Mars, the planet of war, when he was born. Margaret Thatcher's Mars was over a little tiny dot in the ocean off South America, and that was Falkland Islands. So yeah, there's loads of other examples like that. So wherever physically the planets were above, you know, locations on the Earth, if you go to those locations, say where your Venus was when you were born, you're likely to make friends, or maybe meet a very, very special someone and have a really kind of friendly, warm, beautiful time, you know, maybe with music and entertainment around as well. So, you know, that's a whole other subject. And what actually I'm going to do is I'm going to get a friend of mine who's written books on astrocartography to come and talk about that on here. So thank you for your question.